Hello and welcome back to another Out of Spec Reviews video. I'm really excited because this is a vehicle I've been trying to showcase with you guys for a long time, and finally it's here in Colorado at our office so we can talk about the new Ford Maverick. I think, I'm gonna say it, the most influential vehicle of 2022. There are some caveats such as availability, but if you don't want to watch the rest of this review, I'm going to tell you, after living with this for a week, it is amazing. It is one of the best new cars on the market. That's a pretty strong statement to follow up. I just said this is one of the best new cars on sale, and I genuinely mean it. First off, I think the key thing here is the price. Forget the fact that it's a utility vehicle, that you have about 4 feet of space in the back, or that it can seat 5 people, or that it's a pretty attractive looking model, especially in this Velocity Blue. The base price for this car is $19,900, and that's before destination. So add another $1,000 or so on top of that, but you're into this thing for very low $20,000 range for a base model. Now this one's not a base model. It has, here I'll show you, let me reach into my pocket, the key here. It has remote start, it has heated seats, it has a heated steering wheel, it has a beautiful interior, one of the best interiors of any car. And even still, this thing's under $27,000, including destination. Stellar, stellar price point. Now, the price is insane. There is a caveat though. Right now, this is still a new vehicle. It's still hot, and dealerships have very few of them, which means in this current market, a lot of them are charging over sticker. I'm gonna tell you right now, my recommendation is don't pay over sticker for any mass production car, unless you're buying like a GT3 Touring in a paint to sample type thing. Just wait, find a dealer somewhere. I know some people need cars, and there are reasons why you may have to pay over, but yeah, I wouldn't personally do that. Let me show you under the hood, because that's what makes this special, is that it's a hybrid. And a lot of people in our audience, of course, being quite a electric vehicle audience, has asked, well, you know, I wish this was battery electric or a plug-in hybrid. That would have raised the cost significantly. And while, yes, people still would have bought it, I think this really mobilizes America. Small businesses, urban needs for really anyone. We could not find a use case. We've tried all week for someone who couldn't use a Maverick in their garage. So here we have a 4-cylinder engine that's paired with a 1-ish kilowatt-hour battery pack that produces some amount of power that's more than adequate. Of course, I can link, oh, did I not close that hard enough? There we go. Yeah, it's a wonderful powertrain. We're gonna get in and talk about driving dynamics and power and the CVT and all the specs there, but my recommendation would be to actually go for the hybrid, which I think is even more rare than the other alternative, which is a 2-liter turbocharged engine. This is a 1.5, if I didn't mention. And the 2-liter turbocharged engine's a significant upgrade of, I want to say, almost $2,000. But then on top of that, if you want all-wheel drive, it's another $3,000-ish. So for like $5,000 on top of this, that's when you get all-wheel drive. I don't think it's worth it. My recommendation is front-wheel drive, snow tires. We had this vehicle down below 0 degrees Fahrenheit in snow. We're talking -5, -7 on some really cold nights, and it started right up, didn't care. Front-wheel drive handled snow as expected. With snow tires, it would have been even better, but very impressive. Let me take you on a tour of this, and just so you know, this one is the XLT trim, which is the mid-spec. It goes XL, XLT, and Lariat. The wheels that you get on the XLT are these. My recommendation, you don't have to follow everything I say, of course, no one does anyway. My recommendation would be to go for an XLT trim like this. You get certain nice features, I'll explain, but then to swap on the steely wheels from the base truck. So I'm sure there's people who will buy an XL version of this who want the nicer wheels, but I think the way to go is to go with the steely wheels. So I would swap those on. And honestly, if you were to buy them aftermarket, put some snow tires on them, that might be the way to do it too. The size of this is perfect. It's not big, it's not tall, it's not trying to be a macho truck. You can buy a Ranger, which is bigger than this. You can buy an F-150, which is bigger than this. You can buy an F2, 3, 4, 5, 650. I think even an F750 in the medium duty segment with F650. The point of this is to mobilize America for the price. So let's, again, forget that there's no bed back here. When we talk about this engine, this powertrain, this efficiency, if I told you you could buy a car for $20,000 that seats 5 people comfortably. That comes with Apple CarPlay, a wonderful interior, great driving dynamics, and oh, by the way, gets 42 mpg in the city. That'd be amazing. And we tested this in our own 70-mile-per-hour highway range test. That video is live on this channel at 37 mpg or 38 mpg, depending if you trust the pump or the car. Still insanely efficient. So if I told you that, you'd be like, yeah, where do I buy one right now? 20 grand and that kind of efficiency. But oh, by the way, you can put anything you want back here. So 1,500 pounds of payload, which is plenty. Obviously, it's enough for me to go back here. It's a solid vehicle. We've used this truck for like truck stuff or like utility purposes around town, not hauling big loads and stuff, but I had to transport a set of wheels for our 100,000-mile Tesla Model 3 videos we're doing. Then we went to Boulder, which is actually going to come later in this video, where we bought some furniture and used this to haul furniture around. And there's great tie-down points, there's great accessories, really everything you could need. So I'm just blown away. The hybrid version also comes with this tow hitch in XLT trim, at least. I'm not sure about the base, I think it does. 2,000 pounds towing. Here's the tailgate, not dampened. Everything here is about being tough and inexpensive and great. So this one has a drop-in bed liner, but it comes with some neat things as well. Take a look at these little adjustments. I can slide these rails wherever and then just lock it in place, boom, and you can tie whatever things you want down. There's even hidden storage back here. So take a look at this. You can put anything you want in this little storage cubby. But wait, there's more. It goes all the way down. Sorry for this flying in front of the camera. It's amazing how innovative this space is. And I really think this is Ford's best product. Ford is on fire right now. They're making some incredible cars. I'm a huge fan of the company, of course. I don't usually judge companies. Like I wouldn't say I love Mercedes, Volkswagen, Ford, whoever. I look at individual models, but as a percentage of individual models that Ford makes, they're all really good. Take a look over here on this side too. 110 power outlet, Ford Pro Power. How about that in an entry-level truck? And there's even a light back here, which is fantastic. And it's tied into these lights up here on the roof so you can light up your bed, which is great. It's super innovative. I mean, all of this for, again, this one's 25, 26 grand as tested. Velocity Blue wouldn't be my choice in color. I think it's a little showy, but I have to tell you, we drive a lot of exciting things on this channel, from Ioniq 5, which looks like a spaceship, to 911s, to a whole bunch of crazy stuff. This has spurred more conversation than any car I've tested in recent memory. Yeah, I think the Toyota Supra and this are like the two, and people love this thing. We've been trying to film. The reason we're in this back little corner behind the office is because whenever we stand outside in front with this vehicle, people come up and ask us about it. It's the new Maverick. It's the new thing. I'm just so excited about this vehicle. Down the side, what should we talk about? Unibody. People will say, should you call it a truck? Should you call it a car? You can debate that one in the comments. You tell me. I am in the camp where I call this a car, and everyone else at the company is at a camp where they call it a truck. Either way, it doesn't matter what you call it. Door handles, plastic, who cares? Nice and sturdy. Listen to this door sound, by the way. Thunk. This thing's cheap and it's built well. Let me show you the rear seat legroom. You do suffer a bit in the back, but take a look at this too. This interior trim on the XLT, by far the one to get. And I have to say, the materials themselves, if I were to describe them to you, aren't nice. You know, this is no S-Class on the inside, but just visually, and then even the points that you do touch all feel pretty nice. And I love this orange accent everywhere. Let me jump inside here. So for a crew of 4, for example, you know, look, it's tight for me, I'm not gonna lie, right? So definitely knees in the back of the seat, but the seat actually has quite a bit of room to give, where I'm 6'1", sitting behind my 6'1" seating position, plenty of headroom. And honestly, I can kind of just open my legs up a little bit like that and be fine. Come on in here, because I want to show you something that isn't so great about the back. 2 things, actually. No rear air vents in the back, so no airflow. It's a small cabin, so the front does okay. You do have a 110 outlet, USB-C and USB-A, and this little adapter thing that you can 3D print connections to, which is great. But look at the placement of the speakers. So what we've had to do is put the sound bias inside this car all the way to the front. because I had it just on low volume. We took some friends to dinner and they started screaming at me from the back seat, like just talking normal. I'm like, we have the volume on too. Are you okay? And then we realized that the speakers, they thought we were blasting music because it's right in their ears. Anyway, the exterior of this truck is great. Speaking of spec, some interesting things. The standard truck, even if you don't option the XLT with this cool interior and stuff, you can option Copilot 360, which is adaptive cruise control and lane centering as a standalone option regardless of trim. So I think an interesting way to configure one of these would be to do a Ford Maverick Hybrid XL, Steelies, and Copilot 360 and nothing else. That would be an interesting spec. The XLT here is almost maxed out, but we don't have Copilot 360 and we don't have the glass roof. Two things I would probably go for. But again, the point of this truck kind of feels like make it as inexpensive as possible. You still need to use a physical key on this trim, which I think is great because you're not leaving your key anywhere. Why don't you guys hop in the back seat? I'll show you some of the interior stuff from the view in the back, and then we'll get it out on the road. To start up the Maverick, you just take your key, insert it into the slot, and then twist it to the right. You don't hear anything because it's a hybrid, so it runs on electric most of the time. And I'll talk about, we've done some OBD data logging to see like how that drivetrain actually works and what happens there. And we'll talk about that later in this video. Basically interior, first of all, is wonderful. Again, the materials are pretty hard touch. That doesn't bother me. The point is to be inexpensive, but it's cheap and cheerful. And so you have this sort of really unique and very nice material throughout. Everything's got this blue hue to it. I love these orange accents everywhere. And just take a look at the center console. You have a credit card holder. You have some functions down here for auto hold, your drivetrain selection, cup holders, cubbies absolutely everywhere, which is wonderful. And then this super deep center console storage that you can use for everything down there. It's a really well thought out storage space. Up top, you have sunglasses holder, which surprisingly to me is actually felt lined in a car that's inexpensive. That's wonderful. And then you come down to your standard dimmable mirror, nothing fancy there, and just little storage cubbies everywhere. Now, some viewers have commented, why didn't they just make this a widescreen? I don't have the answer, but I don't mind this. What I've found works pretty well is just put my phone there. I don't know, you can put whatever you want there, but I think that's worked well for me. This is the infotainment system. It's a fine system. It doesn't do too much. You kind of get your settings set up first. You can do a few things. You can actually have like a wireless hotspot to this too to run other things. No navigation built in, but of course you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. We've used both. They both work just fine. Nothing fancy, but it's a good system. The one negative about the system is the screen is a little bit dark, and there are some brightness adjustments on the side where I can dim it and raise it, but even raised up all the way, if you're in a bright environment, it's a little bit hard to see. You have some hard buttons here, which there's a war on buttons out there. Tesla owners hate buttons. I posted a picture of this car on Twitter and everyone freaked out because it had buttons. I'm like, what else would you put in your car this inexpensive? And I think that's fine. I like buttons because I can just go boom, something, and that's good. So volume, tuning, some track stuff. You can turn the screen off, which I think is kind of useful if you don't want to use it. Again, the point of this is not for infotainment. It's just a usable vehicle. Then you have your climate control. The only real issue with climate control, the heater works great. This one has the optional heated seats and heated steering wheel, which we've used every single day because it's been so cold out, is the temperature adjustment and the fan are swapped the wrong way, in my opinion. I wish we had temperature here and fan over there. That's so nitpicky though, isn't it? Who cares? Anyway, gear selector, same as Mustang Mach-E. You can see park, reverse, neutral, drive, and low. Automatic parking brake, that's wild. And then you have your traction control, your 5 driving modes, and auto hold. The seating position is wonderful. I can see everything around the vehicle. The backup camera is great. You even have little lines here. That's been really nice. There's nothing, literally nothing really to complain about. And I love the seats. I think this is one of the most attractive and comfortable seats in the entire car market, regardless of price. Just take a look at how beautiful this passenger seat is. It's just wonderful. And it's good. It's big guy friendly. I have room to move around. My elbows can expand. I don't feel like I'm in something small. Great headroom. It's really, really nice. So what we're going to do is actually hop in the car with Alyssa and Jordan. We're going to go down to Boulder. Let's see how this thing loads in some furniture. We'll drive it around a little bit, and then that'll be the review. So what's going on over here, folks?
Got some furniture off of Facebook Marketplace.
Nice.
And we're taking it back home.
Wow, the Maverick has a lot of room. This is 2 dressers.
Yeah, this is about
2 side tables.
About a 4 or 4.5 foot dresser.
Yep, it's a little bit longer than the bed, which I think is 4 foot usable, roughly.
Yeah.
And so, but still perfectly fine. Great tie down points actually back here, so we can stop things from coming out. Tailgate's obviously strong enough to hold people. Great little work truck here for doing small city tasks like this. We also have lights in the bed here.
Yeah, nice light right there next to the power outlet, which is great. You got some eye hooks right here on the side of the tailgate, and then another eye hook on the floor on the back, or I guess the front, I should say. And this thing is kind of flexible. You can move it around wherever you need. I don't think we'll use that for this, but just tie it down basically to the floor back here, and then this will go.
Yep, around back this way we'll have one as well.
This great little sliding thing let me like lock this all the way over here, so nothing's moving.
Yep. Oh, great, Alyssa, thanks. Yeah, I mean, pretty good, I'd say. A little sketchy, but we're just going up the road, so that'll be fine. Welcome to the Ford Maverick Hybrid interior. We're actually in a neighboring town where we've just picked up, I don't know, what is it exactly we got?
We picked up a dresser and 2 nightstands.
Dresser and 2 nightstands. We're doing real Maverick heavy-duty work truck stuff today. But I think that's really the point of this truck, is to become sort of an everyday, livable, usable, around-town vehicle. Jordan's with us as well. Hey, Jordan.
Howdy.
What do you think of the Maverick, your first impressions after driving around in it this week?
Huge fan, actually.
Really? Huge fan?
Huge fan. I think this just makes sense for so many people. It's like the truck of the people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, what we're going to do is talk about how it drives in the city. We're going to get it up to some higher speeds. We're going to talk fuel economy. We're going to talk how the hybrid system works. And I think we should actually start with it sort of in the city area, which we are now. So I'm going to put the vehicle into eco mode. There's 5 driving modes: eco, towing, slippery, normal, and sport. And right now we're in eco mode, which is actually how I've driven it most of the time this week. We've already driven just about 400 miles so far, and we've averaged really, really good fuel economy, well into the deep into the 30s, and that's considering we've been doing some, you know, wide open throttle testing and not sort of average driving. Jordan, wouldn't you say when we drive it around the city normally we're well into the 40 mile per gallon range?
Yeah, low 40s easily.
And the nice thing about this particular truck is it's actually broken in, so it has over 8,000 miles on it. So it's kind of out of break-in period, and it's a little bit loosened up, and it just gets insane economy, in my opinion. So driving it around in eco mode, let's talk about how this hybrid system works. As mentioned in the intro, you can get 2 different engines. This one is the front-wheel drive hybrid, and by far I think it is the one to get. I know they're in short supply. I would wait to get this particular one for 2 reasons. First off is response. As soon as you hit your foot down, we actually have a data logger running. Jordan has it back there. As soon as you put your foot down, we get about 30 kilowatts of electric boost instantly. Watch.
33, yep.
33 kilowatts right there. And what that means is as soon as we put our foot down, as soon as I put my foot down, we are not waiting for things to downshift, for boost to come online like we would in the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's just instant get up and go. And to be honest, I think it's got plenty of power for driving around town, to the point where this thing is never strained. In terms of the regen and throttle situation, there's a great display you can pull up in the central instrument cluster. In my view, it's kind of hidden, but it lets you change your throttle position to keep it in all electric mode. And when you have the vehicle in eco mode, we've noticed that it lets the hybrid battery pack go deeper to a discharge state before it gets on the combustion engine. So we've seen it get down to what, 30% state of charge at the lowest?
Yep.
Yep, 30% at the lowest, and in some of the other modes, it's, you know, into the 40% range or 50% range. It doesn't let it go beyond. So driving around town, a significant portion of the time driving is done in electric mode, and that's because when the combustion engine is on, it's running pretty aggressively to charge up the battery as quickly as possible. And we've noticed that the engine alone can charge this battery at well over 10 or 15 kilowatts, which just gets the juice in there in this little tiny pack very quickly. So I've been very impressed with how much electric driving we're actually doing here. And of course, when the combustion engine's on, it's operating at peak efficiency. In terms of regen, when you lift off in normal drive, you actually get a little bit. How many kilowatts regen are we doing here?
12.
12 kilowatt regen on liftoff. So you can do like a little bit of one pedal-ish. It's not like an EV where it's like really slowing down, but which is nice. But then you can touch the brake pedal and it will actually blend in more regen using the brake. It's brake by wire. And then once you max out your regen, we've never seen more than 32 or 33 kilowatt regen. So it's basically 33 in, 33 out power-wise, kilowatts maximum of this electric system, which is honestly a really big assistance. And then it will blend to friction brakes. And because it's a brake by wire, depending on the drive mode, changes the way everything operates. Again, in eco mode, you have a pretty good brake pedal, you have really good drivetrain tuning, you can hear the combustion engine just turned on. Are we charging up the battery?
Yeah, about 4 kilowatts.
4 kilowatts in, and then if I lift off, what are we doing
30,
now? 25, yeah. So it's really juicing up the battery pack there.
So we've got 40% state of charge right now.
So the big thing for me is the efficiency in the city is where this truck shines. You can do remote starts, you can let it idle for a long period of time where you sit 99% of the time in electric, kicks on the combustion engine, works it hard at peak efficiency. It has pre-programmed sort of rev parameters that it wants to hold at under certain load targets, and then it just shuts off and you're back to electric. So makes a ton of sense. Now we're actually merging up and we're going to be going up onto a higher highway stretch of road. So I'm going to take it out of eco mode, which by the way, when you go full throttle in eco mode, it's pretty much the same power. I've driven the truck in eco mode almost totally extensively throughout the week, and I like it. And Jordan, wouldn't you say you would agree with me? Aren't you against CVT transmissions in most vehicles?
Generally, but this is probably the least offensive one.
Yeah, because this is focused on max efficiency and this engine really has programmed in ledges where it likes to run. The CVT is great because I could just go foot down, max revs, and we're off. And it has great power, as you can see here. I'm not going to pass on the right with cargo in the back flopping around. But it just seems to be really well tuned.
Yep.
Now that's enough drivetrain stuff. What do you think of the Maverick?
I absolutely love it. I think it's just a car to have in your garage, honestly, because you can have like your more sporty cars, like the ones you just want to drive around. But this car, if you need to go like what we did today to go get the dresser, we're able to just hop in the car and go, and it's extremely efficient.
Yeah, like yesterday I had to go pick up a set of wheels for a Tesla video we're shooting and just threw them in the bed, fit 4 wheels.
It's been super practical and super useful for us, and we've had it for only a week and we've already used it.
I've kind of fallen in love with it.
I know.
And very rarely am I excited genuinely about the cars that we review.
That's true.
And I won't get out of this thing. It's just the best. And the spec is wonderful in this one, which I explained in the intro, that XLT with this interior package. So I think, you know, when we get down to the way this thing drives, your accelerator pedal tuning is flawless and spot on. I love the gauges that it gives you to keep you in electric mode as much as possible. I actually do like the brake pedal, although you can tell it's a brake by wire, and sometimes it's a little laggy when you put your foot on the brake. It's got a little Mach-E brake syndrome in there, but that's traditional of Ford brake-by-wire systems these days, so to be expected. And then there's another interesting situation, which is there's an L mode here on the shifter, which in a battery electric vehicle like the Mustang Mach-E gives you max regen. In this, it will do the same because everything's warmed up, so we're just regenning. But if the battery is cold to the point where it can't accept power, or if it's at a higher state of charge, then it uses the engine. So I wouldn't drive around in L mode all the time, but if you're going down a steep grade, that's what it's meant for, and it's pretty good. We've just hit 50 miles to empty after traveling well over 400 miles on this tank. Crazy, isn't it? We're up at speed 65 miles an hour. Can't hear anything. This has to be one of the most well-refined highway noise vehicles for the price point in its class. What do you guys think?
I 100% agree.
Yeah, the comfort and interior quality, it's not like fancy, but it just looks good, feels good. It's all you need. Like, this truck doesn't give you more than you need.
Right, and I'd like to go into some other drive modes actually. So there's a sporty drive mode which actually will simulate gear shifts, and what it will do is at partial throttle go in, and so you can hear it screaming away. Then there's a gear shift.
Yep.
And it will actually derate torque from the electric motor and the combustion engine to simulate these gear shifts. And I guess some people like that. I don't know. I think it's a little disingenuous to do that. But at wide open throttle, it just stays at peak power, of course, which is nice. There's also a tow haul mode, which does simulate this sort of electric shifting, but we've noticed based off of the hybrid systems, it really charges up the battery pack very high. And you have to imagine with a hybrid system, it's really hard to ensure peak drivetrain power output for an extended period of time, because eventually you'll drain your battery pack. So what tow haul mode does is not only change the brake pedal to be a little bit longer, not as sharp, it also allows the hybrid battery pack to charge up really high. And so that way, if you're gonna tow up a steep grade or a big acceleration run, you just have more buffer in the hybrid system to get peak efficiency of power output. Now, there's no screen in this car, unlike other Ford hybrid or plug-in hybrid vehicles, that shows battery level. So we're using an application that uses an OBD wireless scanner to, I believe it's called Car Scanner is the application we're using. And Jordan, why don't you tell us our parameters right now? What's going on?
So I can see our battery state of charge, which is currently 62%. So I can see the kind of the battery power input and output. So right now it's pretty neutral, but that's where we've seen plus or minus 30, 33 kilowatts.
Yep.
We can see the system current. So right now about 45 amps. System voltage, we're about 220 volts.
And we've seen this get all the way down to about 198 volt on the low end and well into the high 200s. So it's about a mid 200 volt spec system nominal.
Yep, and throttle position, coolant temp, engine load as a percentage, and the engine RPM. So there's a lot of parameters you can change too.
Yep.
This is just what we've selected to
Yeah,
do.
we selected these parameters on the screen just because these were the ones I thought were the most useful to evaluate the vehicle and how this drivetrain works. But I have to say, we've had this down well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and we've had it up into the 40s and 50s, and it's been the most flawless drivetrain system I've ever tested. Conversely, the Escape plug-in hybrid was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. It's just not very predictable.
Yeah, it wasn't predictable. This is very predictable, and now that we kind of know how it's managing its power levels, it's been wonderful. So we're cruising along at just over 60 miles an hour now. I think it's safe to say that this car is great to drive. It's hard to figure out if we should call it a car or a truck. We asked some people on Twitter and they all disagree with each other, of course. So I'm gonna go with car. Truck. What do you think,
Anything with a
Jordan?
bed is a
Crossover
truck.
with a bed.
Either way, it's a vehicle that I think almost everyone could benefit from having in their arsenal. And you made a good point earlier where you could just have this in your garage to cruise, but this is a great daily driver.
Yeah.
Why not just cruise around? You can also option Copilot 360 even on the base trim with the Steelies, which looks awesome. And there's no downside to a daily driver here. Why buy a Prius or a Elantra hybrid when you can basically get this for the same price? You give up a little fuel economy over those vehicles, but so much more practicality and usability. So really no downsides here in the Ford Maverick from a driving perspective. And we've just stopped over to the fueling station where filling it up with some fuel, and did 426 miles on a tank, and that's considering our evaluation miles, which are pretty hard driving miles, highway miles, and honestly a mix of city. It's probably how I would use the truck personally, in almost 500 miles to one tank of fuel in really cold temperatures. We were down into the single digits. The heater was on high most of the time. Just impressive economy here, well deep into the 30 mpg range. We'll see how big the tank is. It was showing about 10 miles to empty, so it's got over 10 gallons so far. We'll let it go all the way to full. So we added 13.4 gallons. Pretty simple. Really love this capless fuel situation. You do have to hit a button inside to unlock the fuel cap. Good for safety, but also mostly hybrids have this to depressurize the tank. Anyway, fuel's getting more expensive, isn't it? Good thing this thing's efficient. Let's do it. And well, there you have it, guys. I haven't been excited to review a car this much in a very long time. I'm so thrilled and excited about this Maverick. I think its really only issue is Ford just can't build enough. There's markups on the vehicle and they're hard to get. But once the market softens, once they become available in big numbers, I think everyone kind of needs one of these things in the garage. I don't see it depreciating much. I don't know how much cheaper it could get for a new, usable, useful vehicle with a warranty. I mean, it's just like, It is amazing. It's going to transform America, in my opinion. This is a great truck for anyone in almost any use case. You can use it as a daily driver, as a road tripper. I'm so thrilled with it. I know a lot of you will say, yeah, we can't wait for an electric version to come. Certainly, yes, but also when you think about like the usefulness of this truck and how so many people could replace their 1500, 2500s with just something like this, the amount of carbon we would save, the amount of CO2 we would save being emitted, it's just massive. It's going to have a huge impact. Can't wait for it. The train is coming right here, and that's how we're going to end the review. There it goes. See you on the next one.